Because I feel like you can't take a luxury vacation right now. It's a little hard.
I mean, yeah, only if you're Kim Kardashian and you can rent out a private island for 200 of your closest friends.
Therapy roulette, consent to vent. Trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy roulette, consent to vent. If you don't have problems, then you're likely repressing shit, and you should find a therapist who's not me.
Katy Dolle, welcome to Therapy Roulette. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it. I love that there's someone else out there that is not taking mental health too seriously.
I know, because I wanted to get into like the mental health podcast field, and then going into it, it's like experts, Brene Brown. It's a little intimidating.
I mean, it's great that there are all those experts out there so that
Mhm.
everybody can read their books and improve their lives, but also sometimes you don't want to feel so heavy, you know? Sometimes you don't want someone telling you everything to do with your life. You just want to, like, you know, let loose a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes there's like too much somberness in mental health, or like looking up mental health awareness. So you want to like
I
make it
mean,
fun sometimes.
I understand why. It's like, you know, you don't get into going to therapy unless you feel shitty.
Yeah.
So I could get it. But also, I think that you have to figure out a way to see like a light at the end of the tunnel, as it
hmm
were. So,
And I've always, as a fan of like entertainment, as a comic, I've always been into dark comedy anyway. So I think I've always dabbled in like darker themes and mental health. So it just made more sense to be like, yeah, I'll just do like psychology for my podcast and go into the mind.
go into the mind. Like you're going on some sort of deep space adventure.
Yeah. Spelunking deep into the caverns of the brain.
Ooh, yes. God, I miss traveling. That's got to be one of my things with COVID that used to be so good for my mental health is I used to be able to travel. And when you said spelunking, it reminded me of like, what was it? Almost 2 years ago, I went to Playa del Carmen, which is
hmm
kind of near Tulum in Mexico. And they have these underwater caves that you can go in and swim around. It's pretty wild.
That sounds so beautiful.
It's yes, it's gorgeous. And I guess for me, one of the things that I love to do for my mental health is just have a change of scenery, even if you don't do something as glamorous as that, just like taking a road trip somewhere for the day, you know?
Yeah, that's like what I've been doing when I can. Like I went to the Grand Canyon recently just to get out of LA and do something.
Was that your first time?
It was my first time in a while, and just being on a road trip, even though we're driving through Arizona, it's nice to be out of the apartment, be out of the city, and see a desert.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I feel like you can't take a luxury vacation right now. It's a little hard.
I mean, yeah, only if you're Kim Kardashian and you can rent out a private island for 200 of your closest friends.
Yes, and you know what? I'm glad I'm not Kim Kardashian.
Why not? I mean, she seems like she has it all.
Yeah, she seems super stable. I mean, good luck to her.
I don't know. I don't have any criticism of her. I do feel bad that she's married to Kanye because he's off the rails and running. You know, he did the whole presidential campaign, and then when it was clear he wasn't going to win, I don't know if you saw his tweet. He said he's going to run, and it's going to be Kanye 2024
I
as
heard
well.
2024. Yeah,
Yeah.
2024 is the new outlook for Kanye, but I can't take him, the Kardashian West family, seriously. I mean, with Kim doing that birthday on the island, I've just been like, I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not gonna try to plan a vacation, go to a party. I'm not gonna be ridiculous.
No, I get
Obviously.
it. Yeah. No, I haven't really done much. And if I do see friends, it's been with masks or outside. And like, I think there was one or two times that I actually like planned ahead to like hang out with someone without one mask, but I'd be like, okay, let's get tested. You know, like I went out to
Yeah.
Joshua Tree in August to visit a friend of mine and we both got tested. And then I was like, all right, well, you know, I can hang out in this house for the weekend with my friend. And this feels like a nice little piece of somewhat normal.
Yeah, that's the best. Like when you trust someone and it's not, some giant indoor space or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I went to Joshua Tree in July,
Uh huh.
also to get away, thinking like outside desert, totally safe. And then it was the hottest part of the summer, and I really did not have the best time, and a lot of stuff was closed. But I could see like when you're going when things are open, it's not a pandemic. Like were things open when you went?
They were actually, yeah. It was like just the main drag, and like Pappy and Harriet's was open, and
Yeah, we went
uh,
there.
uh, yeah. I mean, I always have to like just stop by to see what's going on. I think there's a lot of history there and a lot of nostalgia for me. I actually, I mean, I've been to Joshua Tree so many times, and I also filmed. There's a short film that I did called "We'll Never Make It" that's out on Amazon actually right now. Shameless plug. But we filmed a lot of it in Joshua Tree, and we filmed part of it at Pappy and Harriet's. So a lot of good
Oh, that's so
memories
cool.
there. Yeah,
And for anyone who doesn't know, Pappy and Harriet's is like a huge rock and roll bar. It seemed like a live music venue and a restaurant.
yeah, yeah. And it's connected to Pioneer Town, which is like an old Western town that looks like something that was built for the movies, but all of the stores that are there are actually functional. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. What's the
Yeah.
name of the short film again?
It's called We'll Never Make It, and I wrote it, directed it, started it, edited it. I did everything. um,
You did all the
and
work.
yeah, but I mean, it's okay. It was my baby. And basically, it's about a young woman who gets stuck on the side of the road with her crazy Jewish grandma and autistic brother on the way to a family wedding. Loosely based on my life because I do have my brother has autism and my grandma is totally neurotic and Jewish. And yeah, it was really fun. It was a really fun shoot. And what I am so passionate about that I was able to achieve with that film is just better representation for people with disabilities. Because I've seen a lot of representations in the media of people with autism, and there are so many times that they just have a neurotypical actor playing someone who is on the spectrum. And I was really conscious of that. So I wanted to cast someone who actually is on the spectrum to play my brother. And I was able to do that. So that was really cool. And also that the story is just kind of like a Little Miss Sunshine, fun, weird family comedy. The whole story isn't just about his disability. He's just like, oh, this is my brother. He happens to have this thing. We barely even talk about it. He's just functioning as, as he does.
As
So,
yeah, the person he is with
yeah.
autism.
Yeah. And so I feel like that normalizes it a lot more instead of like, oh, every time you have someone with a disability in a TV show or movie, you have to like really call it out. And that's not always necessary, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Because in the past, that's like what the norm was. But I feel like in the past year, maybe a little bit more, but there's a lot of like autism educational content on Netflix right now. Like I watched Love on the Spectrum, which I thought was amazing.
Oh my God. If you're listeners, if you haven't watched this series, if you haven't watched this series before, it's the best. It was so heartwarming for me, I have to say, Michelle, because growing up with my brother who is on the spectrum, he's never had a girlfriend. And my mom and I have always like wished that he could date someone who's like him or someone who understands him. And that may never happen, but getting to watch all those people find love or at least even try to date, it was just so sweet.
They were like the cutest, most genuine people. And you could tell like they were working so hard on themselves and so hard on like finding a partner or someone to like get along with and try to date and try to fall in love. And I don't know, there was so much like realness to them that I really got into
Yes.
the show.
Yes. Well, and it was fun because I'm a huge fan of The Bachelor, confession. I mean, anyone who looks me up on the internet wouldn't be surprised about that. I used to do like Bachelor recaps on my YouTube channel, but the thing about that show versus Love on the Spectrum is that those people are so polished and Botoxed and like Instagram ready, right? And they all know the perfect thing to say and they're playing a game versus like Love on the Spectrum. These people are just, they don't have a filter. And they also like, they acknowledge, they'll look at the camera sometimes and be like, oh, hey, it's weird that you guys are here. Like they're just,
Or they'll ask for privacy. They're like, I'm done with you now, camera crew.
yeah, yeah. And like real people will do that, but like not real, not like reality
Like
show
big stars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a typical reality show star would say that. They would pull that shit and be like, "Don't look at me right now." But they would do it for dramatic effect, whereas these people are like, "I'm having a moment and this is real fucking awkward. Can I just be by myself because genuinely I want to be alone because I just got like stood up on this date or whatever happened."
Yeah, like all the feelings are coming out. They don't want it to be broadcast, or they don't even want to be around other people, and they're just open about it. There's no filter. They're like, "This is what I need. This is what I want.
Yeah.
This is how it is."
The other thing, that I remember about that show, which I loved and I wish more people would do on dates, was one of their opening questions they would ask was, what are your hobbies and what are your interests?
Yes. Okay. So I was watching it with my boyfriend, and he's great. He's very smart. But I was like, look, you can learn a lot about conversation from watching Love on the Spectrum, because they really put effort into their conversations.
Right.
It's like, it's not even just speed dating. It's like, no, this is what people want to talk about. They want to talk about themselves, and they want more questions.
Right, but it's not just generic questions like, oh, what are you looking for in a man, or like, what's your favorite food? They're like, no, I want to know, like, what books are you reading? What movies do you like? What are your hobbies? What does a regular day look like for you? And I feel like you don't hear those conversations on dating shows at all.
No, you always hear like contrived questions, like very, like you hear the same stuff over and over again when you're dating or on an app. So they really, I feel like the people on that show really got to the bottom of the dates they were going on. Like, oh, you like anime? Tell me more about anime, and like really delved into their interests.
Yeah, they worked really hard. And then I think also, this is the thing, I can say this with a lot of confidence just because my brother and also a lot of his friends that I've met, people who are on the spectrum, they usually have something they're very obsessed with, like way more so than regular people, so because their focus is really intense. So they like hyper focus on a certain thing, right? And that's their deal. Like, for example, my brother, he is really into calendars and maps. So with the calendars, he's memorized the perpetual calendar. If you met him, he would ask you what your birthday is, and he could tell you what day of the week it's on. And that's pretty amazing. So like, for example, I was born on a Monday. Like if you told him when you were whatever,
like based on the year you were born, he could tell you.
So you would tell him the date, and he would tell you the day of the week you were born. He can calculate it in his head. It's a pretty fun.
Like a Rain Man with calendars.
Yeah, and then he also I don't know if anybody remembers the Thomas Guide, because people just use maps on their phones now, but back in the day, they had a thing called the Thomas Guide, which they still publish every year, which is a road map of California. My brother gets it every year and memorizes all the new roads.
Oh my God. He's like very skilled at two things I have no knowledge in. Like I can barely follow my own calendar, and then don't ask me to read a map. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's like a human GPS, so he knows all the roads. And anyway, so I guess I'm bringing all of that up to say that like the people who are on the spectrum who are asking about these hobbies, that is, I would say a lot of them identify with their hobbies, whether it's like the maps and the calendars or anime or playing a musical instrument. Like they get very deep into it because their social skills and their ability to communicate is not as much. So they get really into this internal world of whatever it is they're obsessed with.
Right. And it's almost like a gift that they have, because then they can really focus on like talking about their interests more so than small talk or like more like superficial things.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
that's cool.
In a lot of ways, I would say with my brother and a lot of other people I've met with developmental disabilities, it's not always, it can go one way or the other, but a lot of times they seem happier.
Yeah.
Because they're not as caught up in all the like social norms and bullshit that we have to worry about. Or do we
There's
even
so
have to worry
much.
about them? I don't know. Maybe we need to let go of that.
I think for me, I have to care, ever so slightly, but I try not to overthink it too much.
Yeah, totally.
But it is dumb. Like, you have to say hello. You have to ask how people are. Like, usually my first question on the podcast is, how are you? Just because like it's a natural opener to a conversation.
I mean, how are you doing?
I am very tired.
Long day.
I've been editing a podcast episode with any free time today, and I'm burnt out. But we'll sleep pretty soon.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I think with editing the podcast, it's hard because you get into like trying to micromanage every little moment and not sure where to like put the flow of conversation. And then you've heard it so many times, you're like, is this even good?
Yeah. And then or in my case, I like mess up a file, and then it goes live, and then I'm like, oh no, it wasn't supposed to go live. So I had to like backtrack quickly, but It was the middle of the day. It's all good.
It happens to everyone,
Mhm.
it happens to literally everyone. I've had an interview on my podcast, which, by the way, I guess I haven't really mentioned. Also have a funny mental health podcast called Crying Behind Sunglasses. I
I know
think.
we didn't give you a proper introduction. So Katy Dolle, host of the mental health podcast Crying Behind Sunglasses, which is similar sister fields to Therapy Roulette. And
Yes,
you're an actress. Are you a comedian?
I am. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, go ahead. Continue it for me.
Oh, it's totally fine. I mean, I was just bringing that up because you were talking about things that happen. I just started the podcast this year. I mean, prior to that, I was doing acting and filmmaking and comedy. And so I thought to myself, which maybe you
Just
thought this as well.
everything in LA, you do it all.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought when I started the podcast, maybe you thought this as well, that like, oh, it's just audio. I'll just record a thing once a week and then throw it on the internet. It's gonna be so easy.
Yeah.
Not any work at all. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, this is a lot.
I mean, the whole editing process is like a whole. I feel like I'm living another lifetime just editing. Like it's so long, it's so involved, and I'm a perfectionist, and I'm trying to make it less perfect, but it's hard to break out of that. So it's been a hard, long road, but it is worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you believe in what you're doing, I know, like, I'm very passionate about just like destigmatizing mental health, and I think you are as well. And that's usually if I'm getting down in the dumps, I just try to think about like the bigger purpose or the bigger reason behind whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps me to look at that big picture instead of getting so bogged down in all the tiny details and thinking it's not perfect. Like I had a whole interview one time that I did that got deleted.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like that'll happen to me soon.
yeah, no, and it's so funny is I called a bunch of other friends who are podcasters and I was like, oh my God, this happened to me. How do I da da da? They're like, it's okay. It happens to everyone. It happens to you once, and then you're so
Never
scared
again.
it'll never happen again. So
That's so true. I mean, even today, I screwed up my final like mix down of my audio, and then I was like, well, I have like 3 duplicates because I've been working on it all day. So at least I'm learning as I go along.
yeah, there you go. That
But
makes
even when
sense.
you delete something, like ideally you could get that person on again, and the world's not gonna burn down if you lose an episode.
I mean, that's what you say. I don't know. People
That's
might
what.
be rioting in the streets if they don't get their episodes on time.
That's true. I mean, as a fan, I would probably do that. But in COVID, I try to be understanding.
Right. Absolutely.
So, are you in therapy right now, or what's your like present day therapy experience besides the podcast?
Sure. Well, I mean, I can't pretend that my podcast is therapy. I feel like I'm just like a weird unlicensed therapist that's bringing people into my office.
Hmm. But
And
it's like a cathartic type of art.
oh, totally. No, I mean, I talk about my own shit on there too.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, as far as my therapy goes, I have been seeing the same therapist um, since I think January or February, and she's
Okay.
really great. And we were seeing each other in person before COVID happened, and it's so funny because I remember the final day before lockdown, I was in therapy, and I remember her telling me, like, Katy, you know. This pandemic seems like it's really bad, and I just want to let you and all my other clients know that I might be going to do virtual sessions starting next week. And I remember being like, I was very polite to her. I was like, okay. But I remember leaving and being like, that bitch, she's just being crazy. Like, she doesn't
Hmm.
know. She's being overly cautious, whatever. And then that night, Tom Hanks got diagnosed with COVID.
Hmm.
And what else happened? Oh, the NBA season got canceled. And then
Hmm.
nothing was ever the same. The next day immediately was locked down. And I was like, wow, I guess my therapist was right.
So you went from leaving a therapy session thinking like my therapist might be a little too paranoid, and then
Yes.
like within 24 hours you were like, never mind.
Oh no, within like 6 hours, not even. Cause like all that, like I saw her at 4 p.m., got out at like 5. And then like that night, all that news came out and I was like, cool. Okay. Well, there goes my regular life.
At least you know she's like with it. She's smart. She's on top of the news.
Oh yeah, no, she's super with it. She's younger. She's like in her 30s, I think. I don't try to ask her too many questions about her personal life for her age, but
Yeah.
yeah.
From what you can deduce
Yeah.
superficially.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, I've bounced in and out of therapy throughout my life. Just I bring the car into the shop when it's making noise, as it were.
Yeah.
And I think that this year, yeah, I said I got in around January, February, and then COVID hit, and I was like, well, I need a lot of help now. So I've just been sticking with it most of the year. Although recently I went to, instead of seeing her every week, I've been seeing her every other week. So we'll see how that goes, just because I felt like, okay, I'm getting to a point where I'm feeling more stable, and maybe I don't need these sessions every week,
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's a journey, and also as far as like going to the same therapist forever, I don't think that's for everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to a plateau with a certain therapist, and you're like, all right, maybe I need someone else who does a different technique.
Yeah, I think I recently quit therapy after being in it since February. So I was like kind of on the same timeline as you. And then I had been so overwhelmed lately. I was like, I'm not really putting much effort into therapy. I'm not getting a lot out of it. So I was like, I'll just stop it for now. But with COVID, it's been so helpful. Like I already miss it. And it might, like, I feel like a better approach would have been like, oh, let me lessen my frequency of going and like not just cold turkey go away from therapy, but I'll try that next time. For now, I'll be fine.
Yeah. It's funny. I think it is a little bit of a different situation with COVID because we get so little human interaction other than the people we live with now. So it was like my therapist was just like a random friend I could talk to.
Yeah. And
know?
an unbiased, like a professional. So she's giving you all this great suggestions, great advice.
Right, exactly. So it's I don't discount that as well as like actual medical therapy advice, for all my random shit that I might be going through.
Right. And then I just want to ask you, because I'm wondering how people are paying for therapy. Do you pay with insurance if you're comfortable talking about it?
Oh, sure. No, I think that all conversations around money should be out in the open. People should
It'd
always
be nice.
well, it just normalizes it.
Yeah.
I'll get
Especially
more on that
like,
later.
I feel like women, because I live with my boyfriend since COVID started. So I've been hearing him talk to his male coworkers, and they just talk about money all the time. They like constantly ask each other how much they make, how much they should ask for a raise. And women, I feel like, never do that.
Right. But then, why are we making 79 cents on the dollar that men are making? We need to start talking about money.
Yeah, like stop pushing it under the rug because it's not polite.
Yeah. Anyway, that was not the answer to your question. How do I pay for therapy? I have insurance. I've been
Nice.
I'm a freelancer, so I've been buying my own health insurance for literally forever. Just because I don't want to have to rely on like booking enough acting gigs or getting random jobs to like give me the insurance. I'd rather just have it. So I always make sure to sign up for a plan that has mental health benefits, and preferably like a low copay. Because I know for me, like if I have to pay more than $40 to go to therapy, I'm just not going to go. And I know it's dumb. It sounds cheap, but I just know myself. Whereas like if the copay is low enough, then I won't think about it and I'll just go.
Yeah, that's definitely I feel like think relatively affordable for most people. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I end up paying like because I have a PPO, so I do pay a little bit more like as far as my premium, every month. But for some reason that doesn't bother me as much. Like, but
then you get more options when you're looking for a doctor.
Yeah, and it like I go to acupuncture also.
Nice. I used to go before the COVID. I would go like every week. It was such a nice like ritual.
Yeah, every week. That sounds great. Yeah, I go like I guess I'd love to go like every other week, but I end up getting busy. I usually go about once a month, but I started going because I have carpal tunnel and then also just for anxiety stuff. But
nice. I didn't know it could help with carpal tunnel.
Yeah, if you have an acute injury, actually, it's very helpful. That's why I started going because I had carpal tunnel from doing too much video editing. And
that could be what's happening to me. I don't know. I've been just having like spasms in my arms, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ignore it. But maybe acupuncture is the way to go.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is a therapy podcast, so I don't know if I want to get into your sports injury healing, but I'll give you a quick. If you put ice and then heat, alternate those like every 10 minutes, a few times like for in the night. And also doing like a little bit of self massage, wearing a brace. I wear a wrist brace, which um, when I first bought it, I remember being so sad and feeling like I was a grandma. But when I wear it,
Right.
I wear it like if I'm having a flare up, I'll wear it to go to sleep,
That's good.
because it just keeps it straight. Or if I know that I'm going to have like a really long day of editing, I'll just wear it while I'm doing it. I don't
And
know.
then do you have the pain in your wrist?
Yeah, well, it depends. It shifts all around, but
Okay.
in my wrist, in my elbow, or like here, or sometimes like in that little part between my thumb and my index finger.
Okay. Thank you.
But
That's enlightening because I've just been doing exercises off YouTube and like using CBD cream, but it's not fixing it. So
it
I
was,
gotta do
yeah.
more.
So the acupuncture, the way it works, that I've been told, because I thought it was woo woo, but I was at the end of my rope. I had spent like a good 6 months suffering, like trying a lot of different things to get rid of the pain. So basically, when the acupuncturist puts these tiny needles into an area that is injured, the needles are so small, so they don't actually injure you, but it sends a signal to your brain that you're injured. And so then it sends white blood cells to that area to accelerate the healing process.
Okay.
So that's like kind of the science behind it, which is really interesting and it makes sense. I mean, so it really helps to accelerate the healing process for when my wrist is flaring up. And I mean, eventually, I don't know if I'll have to have surgery on it, but I know that like I've been doing the acupuncture for about 4 years now on it, and it really helps because I can actually use it, and I don't have like days where my wrist is burning or anything anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna look into it because I was going for my jaw, like having TMJ, and my
Okay.
back and my shoulders, and then the arm carpal tunnel stuff. That's all new. So gotta get
Not,
on that one.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Which is also when you go, they'll probably do a thing where like they do this weird thing where they tap on your arm to test to see if you actually have it or not.
Mhm.
So you gotta keep me posted on your carpal tunnel journey. Let me know if you
I
actually have
will.
it or not. Maybe we're carpal tunnel sisters.
Hmm.
In
Also,
addition
we
to
could, share hot tips.
hot tips. Yeah, no, I got a lot of hot tips. Many moons ago, I used to teach yoga, so I know a lot of different stretches and things you could do as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for the brief acupuncture rendition.
I don't know. I mean, you might edit it out, but I think it's interesting.
I think it's good. I think people will be into it. Do you mind talking about like what general things brought you to therapy, or like what you currently are working on in therapy? Is it anxiety or something else?
Sure, sure. So I guess I don't know what initially, do you mean like the first time in my life I went to therapy or just like
No, just like what
more
you're working
recently?
on
Oh, got
currently,
it.
or what's pressing right now in your therapy life.
Sure, sure. Well, I just been going through lot of big life changes recently. And in general, I have anxiety and panic disorder, and so that's like a thing that I have to manage. I meditate every day, I journal, I go to
Hmm.
therapy, I work out. There are a lot of different things I do to cope with that and to manage it. Um,
Tell me what panic disorder involves, because I've never heard all the things that would fall into.
so basically just if you have panic attacks frequently, you know,
Hmm.
and by frequent, like a normal person might have a panic attack like once a year or like once in a blue moon, because it is a normal human reaction if you are under major distress, like you're in a life and death situation. However, if you have a panic disorder, you get triggered by stuff and then your body goes into this insane like life or death fight or flight response,
Hmm.
and it's just this big downward spiral. Your heart rate it like goes up a lot. I mean, different people have different things that goes on for them. For me, uh it's usually like my heart rate will go up a lot. I'll be hyperventilating. Depending on what it is that set me off, I might be like crying really
Yeah.
intensely.
It's more like a debilitating, kind of crippling panic attack that happens frequently.
Yeah, I mean, panic disorder is just, I mean, I don't know the DSM definition I don't have in front of me, but it's basically just that, like, you have those, but you have them, you know, enough to where it impacts your daily life or you think about it a lot. You're like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to have another one.
Yeah. Chronically, it sounds like, or like Tony Soprano in season one of The Sopranos.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, Yeah, and I didn't realize that I even had that problem until the end of college was when I first had it. And what's crazy, and a lot of people will tell you this if they have a problem with panic attacks, is that if you don't know what it is, you feel like you're dying. You feel like you're having a heart attack. And that's what I thought. And I ended up calling the ambulance and like going to the hospital because I was like, I think I'm dying.
Yeah.
And then learning what it was and getting into therapy, that was really important for me and my journey. And I think as far as this year, like I said, the pandemic, the election, a lot of life changes. I mean, I just moved in with my boyfriend about a month ago. And like at the beginning of this pandemic, I broke up with someone right before.
Oh my God.
So there's just it's been a roller coaster. And
I mean, the pandemic's been so long, so that it makes sense.
yes, no, it doesn't. But I think that I also just deal with the stress of being a freelancer, you know, in the entertainment industry. There were a lot of ups and downs as far as pretty much every field that I'm
Yeah,
in.
because were you acting full time before all this happened?
I mean, I was doing a lot of comedy shows, and then
Yeah.
I was also trying to think what. God, it's hard. It's so hard to think even before. It's like there was nothing before.
It's crazy to think of how Los Angeles has been impacted. Like, I know it's not a big issue in the grand scheme of the country and the world, but Los Angeles has kind of been like
Decimated.
silenced. Yeah.
No, it's been
because
crazy.
we can't work, we can't make stuff the way we used to.
Yeah. So I do other than like acting, I make films and I also do video editing as like a quote unquote day job. So yeah, pre-pandemic I was like producing and editing for people and acting in things here and there, doing comedy shows, you know, living my vibrant LA life.
Yeah.
And
seeing people, talking to the people, seeing an audience.
yeah. And now it's I think that I have an improv team that is still performing on Zoom like once or twice a month. So that's kind of weird and fun. But other than that, I've just been doing my podcast, which has been a great way to channel my creativity. But it's been very different and difficult to deal with the lack of structure and the lack of direction. It's not like, because I don't have a 9-to-5 job, you know what I mean? And
and it's almost like you're creating a whole new daily life for yourself. So you're really like getting into a new, you know, this is Katy now. This is what we're doing now.
Like all the auditions are on Zoom, which is like it's good and bad because like driving all over town 3 to 5 times a week was exhausting. So it is kind of nice to be able to do it from here, but also you do miss being able to see someone's reaction in the room or like interact with the other actor or get direction. You know,
right? Also how we were talking about before recording, like the tech setup and just making like the room look good.
Yeah, I mean that I was familiar with because I had already been doing self-tape auditions before the pandemic, but it was like, oh, I would only have to do like 1 or 2 a month. Most of them were in person, and now it's like everything's on the online. So it's just it's an adjustment, but I think that I've noticed probably since about August or September, things have been starting to pick up again. That's
good. I know we were getting back on set with like COVID testing and COVID safe sets.
Yeah. I've been on set twice since like, because I basically didn't want to work on any of the sets until after like June or July. I was just too freaked out. And then once I understood it more and understood that it was possible to have a safe set if everybody follows the rules, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back. And
I think that's the best approach too, to be like, okay, but what are you doing to make it safe? Like you want to question it and make sure you know what you're signing up for.
Oh, totally. So yeah, I've done a few different commercials during the pandemic. 2 of them were on set, and then 2 of them were at home that I filmed myself, and then they just used that, you know, which is kind of a weird, also new thing. It's like actors have never had to like usually film themselves before, and then the production uses that as like the commercial.
Yeah.
You know?
It's cool that you can do that though. I like how people are adapting so quickly with it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I mean, my dog, actually, we got to do 2 different commercials for Canine Sciences, which is like this dog food brand. And so now my dog thinks that she's like, you know, she needs to get an agent and she's just a star.
Yeah. And you could probably get her one because I feel like Hollywood's a little empty right now. So get your dog an agent.
Oh my God, you're right. All the other dogs moved back to wherever they were from.
Nebraska or something like that. Where are you from?
I'm an LA native, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I grew up here.
A rare thing, I feel like.
We are the few, the proud, the brave.
Standing strong in Studio City.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, I like to say that I'm a unicorn because people think that I don't exist.
Yeah. I know because I know people from the area, but usually not LA. It's like somewhere I don't know how to get to, like far out past Santa Clarita or something. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll never go there. But that's it's great that you have the roots.
Yeah. No, and I went to college in New York. I went to NYU, so I did live in New York for a few years. I haven't been stuck here my whole life, but I feel like I grew up here. I'm in the film industry. My whole family's here. It's kind of like, okay, this is home base. I mean, my dream would be to be bicoastal because I love New York so much. So like when I'm really balling, like if that's really going to happen for me, which I'm hoping, 10 years or something, 5 years, who knows?
That's what I always say too. I'm from New York, been out here for 3 years.
Okay. Where were you living?
So I'm always like, someday I'll have that apartment in New York somewhere and the place in California somewhere. I was in Brooklyn and Williamsburg for a few years.
So fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in
such a different life. I can't imagine New York now, like so different with the outdoor bars and the drinking on the streets, and that's like all they got going on right now.
It seems like it's a good place to be just because from what I'm hearing from my friends there, most people are following the rules.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of anti-maskers or people like that. So that's kind of nice. And I think that New York in general is used to kind of banding together through crisis, whether that's like Hurricane Sandy or 9/11 or things like that. Like, I think that the sense of community there, I found, I don't know if you would agree, was very strong.
Yeah. And I think that's so right. Like, no one in New York is an anti-masker, not in the city. Like, if you get outside the city, I'm sure, but...
No, but like, if you're in Manhattan proper, like... No.
You're trying to stay alive and keep your, the people who are literally always centimeters away from you. Like, that city is so crowded. You're trying to keep everyone alive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in LA, people are like, I haven't seen anyone sick, and they just pretend they can do whatever they want.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not good. That's the thing that I don't love about LA is that I love people watching. I thrive off the energy of that, and everyone here is like, okay, you're in your house bubble, then you get into your car bubble, and then you drive to your selected work or restaurant or whatever bubble. And it's like you don't interact with all the people along the way. Whereas like in a city like New York or some other places that have more foot traffic and more public transportation, you are able to see people outside of your little bubble more often and just see more diversity and chance meetings and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have both. That's why like the bicoastal dream is so real. Because in New York, I lived in Brooklyn for like 5 years, and after hitting year 5 or like toward the end of that, I was like so done with people. I just wanted to get out. I wanted to get in a bubble. I wanted to live in a car. Just like get out of the city. And now, having been here for a while, now I miss it. So I think I need a little bit of both every once in a while.
Well, you know what? Let's go in on it, okay? So this is we're gonna both be really successful, okay?
Okay.
And then we're gonna find like a townhouse or a loft or apartment, whatever. It'll be for sale.
Hey, we could do it now. It's getting affordable.
Yeah, so we'll buy the real estate and then we'll go in on it, like you, me, maybe a few other people that we trust. And then I have a friend, actually. This is not I'm not making this up. One of my best college friends who still lives in New York is a real estate agent there, and she manages Airbnbs. And she told me that if I bought a place in New York, she would manage it for me. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Because then you don't have to pay the mortgage. You just like, or you do, but like you can...
But your rent's getting paid for you. I know my friend lives there, but she Airbnbs, I feel like weekends, occasional weekends, and then she stays with her parents or something. And it seems like such a good deal just to, get in a couple extra dollars for rent, and then you're good.
I did that a little bit while I lived alone out here. Not like weekends or anything, but it was like I had a few, like last summer I went to Israel for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was traveling for like a month total. I went to New York and then to Israel, and I just subletted my place for a month, and I was like, that's great. Someone else pay my rent. I'm gonna leave the country. Bye.
And it's smart to do that while you're not living there. Why not make some bank?
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
talk more about the New York dream.
Yeah.
We'll put a pin on it. Go back to it.
Hey, I'm there.
I would love that though. But you were telling me that you manage like the politics, the election anxiety pretty well. Can you share with us how to do that? Because I do not manage it well at all.
Yeah, I think what we ultimately have to realize is that at this point, we have all cast our votes, and now there is nothing we can do to control the outcome. We, you know,
Well, I guess we could fight Trump if he contests the outcome. I guess we could protect the results or the integrity of it. But you're right.
But if they're just in the middle of
For
counting
now,
things,
we're waiting.
They're just counting things, and it's taking longer because this election, unlike any other one in recent history, is mostly, or not mostly, but a lot of mail-in ballots. And in a normal election, they don't have that many. And so they'll count all the in-person ballots, and then the mail-in ballots, usually it's like they get counted later, but there's not enough of them to make a difference.
Right.
In this election, it's very close, and there are a lot of mail-in ballots. So they can't not count them. They have to do it, and they are just doing that at the normal pace that they would normally do it. But they have, I forget the percentage. Every state is a little bit different, but double, triple the time, they have like double or triple the amount they would normally have.
Yeah, and then certain states have laws like Pennsylvania where they couldn't even start counting them until election day or the 4th. Like they couldn't early count them like other states could. So people are behind, states are behind, and these are all the swing states where we're like, oh, we would like to know who won. So I've just been going crazy, like trying to speed up the future and just know who's winning the election and trying not to get into a doom spiral.
Well, okay, Biden is winning. He, as of this podcast recording, he's at 264.
Yeah.
Okay? He literally only needs to win one other state.
That's true. According to the Associated Press, he's at 264, but then the New York Times says 253, and I'm like, what's the story?
Yeah, I know.
It's
I'm just
close,
saying,
though.
like, I'm not pretending that I could be a political pundit, but I guess, how to avoid election anxiety. I think the other thing that really helped me too was, like on election night this year, I had like a few different plans of things that I was going to do with my friends online that night so that I wasn't just watching the results.
Yeah.
So I think planning to do things that are not related to the election. Like I had, what was I going to say? Oh, one of my friends organized a Zoom call where we all just watched like silly nostalgic movies together, and we played Jackbox games, you know?
Oh, that's fun.
So that was really great. And we watched one of the Muppet movies. I don't remember which one, but they were like they were burglarizing a museum. So just like things that are distraction tactics, but also I think just letting go of control, which is the most difficult thing to do. But at some point you have to just say, well, like, we've done everything we can do, and we just have to sit here and wait. I'm not saying that people should take political action and volunteer and donate. Obviously they should, but like as far as the election goes, like it happened. Like,
yeah.
You know, and the other thing to focus on is the small wins that we have had as far as looking at different local elections and all the different diverse people that have been elected to the Senate and to the House of Representatives. There are a lot of small wins that have occurred.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I'm constantly impressed by like the change we've made as a country, as a society since March, like in the most recent months, just people coming together and really like banding together for Joe Biden, who like none of us were really excited for, but you know, we got behind him, and so many people I know have been like politically active for maybe the first time in their lives, and I think we're really growing, and there is a lot to celebrate, but I also, the anxiety just builds, so I need to do more stuff in my day that's not the news and political podcasts 24/7.
Yeah, just distraction, other things, interact with animals. I think that's really important. Exercise. I think that's a good way to let off rage and stress is
Yeah. I've forgotten how to exercise. I need to make more time for it.
or even just taking a walk. You don't even need to like get anything intense. Just
going outside. Yeah.
yeah.
That does help.
Trying to think what else I've done as far as like trying to get away from politics. Also setting boundaries because I think there are certain people in my life that really just want to keep talking about it 24/7. And I have to say at some point, if it's triggering me, I just say, you know what? I really appreciate that you want to tell me about that, but this is causing me a lot of anxiety. Can we change the subject?
Yeah. That's a good, nice, rational thing to say. I would like to employ it in my life. I just, it's so much easier to say than to do.
Oh, absolutely. When you're in the moment, you're just like,
And I want to talk about it. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. And then it gets triggering and intense. And then I'm like, I want to stop talking about it. But the feeling, like, I'm always like built up. The feelings are like spilling over.
What
I'm
are
always,
your
like,
feelings?
debating.
So what's the downward spiral? Are you worried that we're going to devolve into a civil war? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a civil war could break out, which is scary just because like the country is so polarized.
Right.
And Trump supporters who are in the media like blocking bridges and screaming out whatever they're screaming now, like count the votes and don't count the votes. Like they're literally saying two different things depending on what state you're in. So it's just too much noise. It's too much contradictions coming at me. I get in a lot of fights with my boyfriend just because he sees differently than I do. Not even like on a conservative side, but more of like a neutral side. And I'm like, why aren't you as heated and like passionate? I just get frustrated when people don't see exactly what I'm trying to say. So maybe it's a control thing, or maybe it's a lack of, outlets and like knowing what to do when you feel helpless.
Do you have other friends that are like more politically aligned with you that you can just like call and you guys can like bitch to each other maybe?
Yeah, I think it's like all my friends who are like, I don't even have to check the news the past day or two because people are just texting me like what's happening. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to check 5:38. I can just open my phone.
There you go. I mean, that's good. Yeah. And I think we also have to remember that, like, I mean, who knows what's going on. I hesitate to say anything too optimistic, but he was elected 4 years ago and we're still here. I mean, obviously COVID happened and a lot of people are not here, but like, I think that like, as far as my day-to-day life, like, yes, it's been impacted negatively in certain ways, but then in other ways it has gotten better. So, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, you know what I was going to say? I'm going to go back. 4 years ago when Trump was elected, something that I heard Gloria Steinem talk about because people were really upset, including me. I voted for Hillary. And we all thought like, oh my God, we got this in the bag. This is great. We had our first Black president. We're going to have our first female president, et cetera, et cetera. Then we didn't get it. And I remember the day after the election, that was like being punched in the stomach. It was terrible. I woke up and I felt like, what the fuck kind of nightmare scenario did I wake up in? And she was saying that America was in an abusive relationship with the patriarchy. And a lot of times, if someone's in an abusive relationship, it has to get really, really bad before we can leave. Right?
Yeah.
And so the progress had been pushed forward so far that basically we elected someone who is the complete opposite of all of that progress, just to show us and mobilize us so we could continue fighting to the end. And I do think, even though he is the worst person on the planet, all of the protests and the political action and the progress that has been made, I don't know if that much progress would have been made if it wasn't for how upset we all are about who is in office.
It has sparked a motivation. Like it's ignited the youth. It's ignited a lot of more apathetic people to really get involved. So that's awesome. It sucks that we had to have a reality star president to do it, but I am glad, I'm glad the motivation's there to, let's actually like fix the country and get Biden elected so that we have, an intelligent human in office. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think I just get frustrated that we're not doing enough. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's just the question mark that bothers me.
Well, I got a surprise for you. You never are going to know what happens in your life.
I know, but I want to know.
Like, you don't even know what I'm about to say next.
I don't. I was probably going to ask you a question, but I don't know what you're going to say.
No, so. I don't have anything. I don't even have anything in my pocket. I just thought, I was like, all of life is just improv. We're all just making it up as we go.
It's true. And that's like a big thing I was talking to my therapist with the past few months is like, what if I make this decision and it's wrong? And what if I regret it immediately? And, what if? And she's like, just do it and you'll figure it out. Like, if you make a decision, you can always change your mind. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, it's just it's the moving forward or the jumping into an unknown that's like terrifying.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is always really scary to leap into the unknown, but I've found that most of the good things that have happened in my life have been right when I decide to take a leap like that, and there hasn't really been much good that has come out of just saying no to opportunities or trying to choose a safe choice.
That's true. And then, I feel like when you take more risks or you jump into more unknowns, it usually gets you somewhere faster. So I'm trying to embrace it more, as hard as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. What kind of, what was something recently that you took a big risk with?
Well, even like, that you might relate to, like starting the podcast and being like, I'm just going to start doing it and I'm not ready. Like, I didn't have episodes backlogged like I wanted. I was just like, I recorded 1 or 2 and I have to start putting them out because otherwise they're going to get stale. So just kind of jumping in before I was ready to like make a career change was scary.
But that's, but you learn as you go and it's exciting. And one of my favorite quotes ever from Amy Poehler, she says, great people do things before they're ready. And it's true. Yeah. And you just have to jump in with both feet because you're not like ever going to be 100% ready for like a job that you've never had or a project you've never done. Like, you're just going to figure it out as you go. And that's what's been fun for me along my journey, is like learning to just really trust my gut instinct and trust that I'll figure it out. Like, just like, okay, I'm a cat. I'm like a cat. You throw me, I'm going to land on my feet. Like, it's going to be fine.
That's a good way to do it. I feel like I used to be like that. So I would like to trust my instinct more.
Yeah. Well, life knocks you down. Thank you. I mean, life knocks you down enough. I understand. It can be tough to put yourself back out there again.
Yeah, a pandemic hits and your life changes, and then you're like, who am I?
Yeah, no, I get that. I look in the mirror and think about that all the time. I'm like, who's that girl? Where'd you come from? How did your life change so much in less than a year?
Yeah.
So
do you worry about what's going to happen if we have like Biden for president or Trump for president, how it's going to affect you as a woman?
I do. Not about Biden because I feel like he's on our side. I mean, but if Trump were to get another 4 years, I do worry about it a lot as far as reproductive health or just health insurance in general, because regardless of what he says publicly, all of his policies are against the Affordable Care Act. And that's how I get my health insurance. That's how I have such a nice plan, is because it's subsidized.
Yeah.
If I had to pay out of pocket 100% for my own health insurance, I might not have any, or I might have a really shitty plan where I don't get therapy, or I have to pay like the full $150 a session that you might have to pay. So, yeah, I am very worried about it. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, and if this is an overshare, then I'm sorry.
No, but, please go ahead.
I have an IUD that is due to be replaced, and I thought like, oh, I'll wait until like next year. I don't really have to replace it right away, blah, blah. Because my doctor said that I could wait if I wanted to. And so I was just like, okay, because it's really painful, and I was just like, I'm going to keep putting this off.
Is your doctor an anti-masker and a Trump supporter? Like, who's telling you to wait?
No, it's just medically not necessary. Like,
okay.
there's a 2-year window in which I can do it. I don't have to do it right now.
Got it.
It's not like there's I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a Paragard IUD, so it lasts for a really long time. So I was going to wait until maybe next year just because I was putting it off. And then when I saw that Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court, I booked my appointment and I'm getting it replaced before the end of the year.
I'm glad you jumped on it.
Well, because I was just kind of like, oh my God, like because at that point the election hadn't really started yet, as far as results coming in. So I didn't have any reassurance that Biden would do well at all. I mean, I was hoping, but
yeah, I mean, we still don't know what's happening, although he's doing good as of Thursday, but who knows?
Yeah. I'm choosing to be optimistic. I don't know, but
it's good.
I think with a very conservative Senate and a conservative court, it's like they could, overturn Roe v. Wade or things. But I think,
and then Coney Barrett was confirmed in like what, a few weeks? She was thrown right in there.
It was awful.
So there was no time to like book your OBGYN appointment. You had to be on top of your shit and be like, I don't want a baby in the spring. Like I would like to control my own body.
I know. I mean, a lot of people have been getting pregnant during COVID. That's like a thing. I feel like it's like everyone just has babies.
If you want a baby, it's a great time. I feel like if you're trying to start a family, we got the time right now.
We got the time. Yeah. I feel like it's good if you already have the baby, but like being pregnant, it's just like, okay, I don't need to be home. I mean, who knows? I've never had a baby, so maybe I'm totally wrong. But I feel like I don't need to hide in my house for 9 months while I'm pregnant. But once the baby's there, it's like, oh yeah, I have this human who's relying on me 24 hours a day. I could see how being home would be helpful for that. So, yeah.
That's true. But then if I was a mom right now, I would want to be like getting my kids to the park and like getting them to run around. And then in COVID, it seems so hard to do anything out in public. So I'm grateful I'm not, starting a family. I'm grateful I'm a single woman who's like just trying to get along with my boyfriend. But, more power to the parents out there and the pregnant ladies.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't imagine. I think that the most difficult thing that I've heard from my friends is trying to keep their children entertained while they are working remotely from home. It seems like a completely impossible task.
Yeah.
Depending on the age of the children, So.
You can only watch so many movies in a day, and then you're like, I feel like I'm not raising the kid right. Like, you feel like you have to educate them and entertain them and do art. Like, there's so much you want to do, and then if you're working, I don't know how parents are doing it.
I mean, I feel like I'm being a bad dog mom, half the time. So I don't know how. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the dog books a few commercials, and you're like, you're good for a while. What do you think of the Electoral College? Do you think we need it, or should we get rid of it?
No, I think that the Electoral College is a very outdated system based on. Oh, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to pretend that I know exactly what it's based on. But the Electoral College is a very outdated system based on not on population. And so I don't see why
it's based
someone's
on the
vote...
olden times. Like, who knows where it came from?
I think that it was either having to do with slave owners or landowners, something like that. But regardless, it's an outdated system that's not based on current reality. And the only reason we still have it is because the voters who live in states whose votes count 4 times as much as mine do, they don't want to let go of that power, right?
Yeah.
Because if they got rid of it and it was just a popular vote, the idea of red states and blue states would really go out the window. It would just be like, oh, where's the most populated? What do they think? Instead of people who live in states that have very few people, but suddenly they have all the power. It just, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we'd have to, if we got rid of the Electoral College, which we should, in my opinion, we'd have to end voter suppression and gerrymandering, like make it more accessible for everyone to vote and for everyone's vote to be more equally weighted. Because, Biden's winning by like millions of votes right now, but still the race is neck and neck. So it's just
like
mind-boggling.
Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million in 2016, and it didn't matter at all because she didn't play the game right.
Because she didn't go to the right states.
Well, went. I'm sure she went to all of them. Okay, it's not like our girl didn't try, but yeah.
I forget which. I think there's one she might not have like spent a lot of time at. I think it was Wisconsin or like one of the swing states. But still, like, you're winning by 3 million votes. You would think that would hold up a little higher. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So it's upsetting that it's this like gamified thing where like we live in California, for example, and a lot of people who are voting in California, we feel like our vote doesn't matter, at least on the federal level. It obviously matters on the more local level as far as like our government and our city council and the propositions that are in California. But on the presidential level, a lot of people are just like, it doesn't matter if I vote because this is a blue state. And also because
Which is a dangerous way of thinking, because what if you move someday, or what if California eventually, or what if we get rid of blue and red states? Like you have to know your voice matters no matter what.
Yeah, but I think that the system really needs to change from the inside out. But the problem is that
and there is so much on the ballot, like local elections, like props. You have to go choose something for your community.
Yeah, but if the people in power are benefiting from the electoral college, there's no reason they would want to change it, you know? But if the people in power just got there by sheer force of will and not trying to game the system, then maybe they would be more interested in helping to change it, because then it would also favor a lot more people of all different backgrounds being able to have their voice actually heard.
Yeah, equality.
Yeah.
But Mitch McConnell's like, no, I'm just going to keep my hands purple and gray and, we're going to keep things the way they are. Just never change.
Yeah, never change, Mitch. Never change.
Oh my God. Just, go ahead and rot while we're in recess right now. Do you have any tips for dealing with anxiety or managing anxiety?
Sure. My main tips for managing anxiety would be to remember that it's not your fault. You're not a bad person because you react differently to the world than other people. I know that sometimes it can feel like, oh, why am I so sensitive? Why is the sky always falling for me? But like, your brain is wired differently, and that's okay. And it can be managed. It doesn't mean that you are a bad person, So the main things that I do to manage my anxiety, other than therapy, which we already talked about, I am very into meditation. I meditate every single day in the morning, usually at least 10 minutes. And if you're just getting started, you don't even have to do 10 minutes. You do 1 minute. You could even just do 5 deep breaths.
And then how do you do it? Do you watch a video? Do you use an app? Do you do it with your own, like, calm space?
Most of the time I use the Insight Timer app, which I highly recommend to people because they have a million different guided meditations, and you can search based on the length of the meditation and the theme. So for example, you can look for something that is going to give you confidence or be focused on gratitude, or something that is specific to anxiety or depression or anger, whatever it is that you're going through. They have a meditation for that. And then they also have this timer function where you can put a timer and you can kind of DJ your own meditation. Mm-hmm. So like you can choose either music or chanting or a river or rain or silence, whatever. And then you can put in different kinds of gongs at different intervals if you want. Like you can really go for it if you want to.
That sounds nice.
It's nice. It's very relaxing. So yeah, I do that. If occasionally I'll just put a timer on and just meditate by myself, but I find that I really enjoy the guided meditations because then I don't have to hear my own thoughts. I can just listen to someone else and try to concentrate on what they're saying and let go of what I'm doing. And they can kind of also walk me through. Sometimes they'll do like a body relaxation where they'll talk about each part of the body and breathing into it and letting it go. So yeah, meditation is my main thing. I love journaling. I've been like a lifelong journaler. I find that that's like my own little personal therapy session where I'm kind of giving therapy to myself, or venting, or especially in quarantine, I found journaling to be amazing. Like I've gone through so many journals this year, and normally it takes me a while to get through them, but I feel like because of the isolation, I just need to get it out.
I know, so have I. I've been journaling more and also writing artist pages or morning pages based on the Artist Way.
That's a great book, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been, because my therapist recommended that, so I've been like alternating that with journaling, which is more like I guess like not trauma focused, but more like problem focused. And then the artist pages, which are like kind of a to-do list and kind of more whatever's going on that day. But the journal entries are like days apart. Like, I just wrote this in here 2 days ago and I'm back at it.
Wow.
But it's good to get it all out of your brain.
No, it's good. Yeah, the morning page is amazing. I did the Artist Way a long time ago, and it was really life-changing for me. I think it's a great way to help discover your artistic voice, as well as just kind of like reevaluating everything in your life and trying to get to know yourself better, you know?
Yeah. I have to do it more freely because I think that's another thing I'm like too much of a perfectionist about, where I'm like, let me write a to-do list of 100 items I would like to accomplish soon. So I micromanage myself even when I'm trying to like free write. So I have to get more free. I think meditating would be good for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're trying to get out of your head, something else that really helped me is, especially if you're a creative person, is to do something artistic that you're not good at and just like let yourself be bad at it.
Yeah.
And let yourself have fun with it. So like if like painting, for example, like I'm not a very good artist, like just grab some paints, just start finger painting. Or I have a guitar, so like I learned how to play guitar in high school, but I've never been an expert. I just know enough to play a few chords at a party maybe. And I found a lot of help doing that because I was having a little bit of writer's block. I was working on a screenplay and I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was overthinking it and everything I was writing was just bleh.
Yeah.
And I started playing guitar and singing badly, and it really just like it opened up this other channel in me.
I mean, even just saying that sounds so freeing to be like, I decided to do this art playing guitar, which I know I'm not great at, and it helps you loosen up a little bit.
Well, because I did it, and then I was like, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun because I didn't care about being good. Okay, maybe I should write that. And so then when I went back to my script, I was like, I'm going to give all the characters really stupid names. Like the lead character's name that I had, which I switched out now because I finished it, but was Charonica.
Which is so ridiculous.
It's like Charlotte and Veronica and Charlie. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I intentionally was like, okay, I'm going to write a really bad version of the script, like terrible writing, and just get it out. And then.
But Charonica could be a character. Like, think of Topanga on Boy Meets World. That went forever.
It did. I feel that's like a cuter name, though.
Yeah, and it's like California. There's some Topanga Canyon, right?
Yeah, I love Topanga Canyon. It's a gorgeous place to go hiking.
Yeah, but you could mix up the letters in Charonica and come up with something different.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get back to you with the next episode of the Charonica Chronicles and let you know if I've changed her name.
But I like that advice because I painted a crappy picture the other night for like a work thing, and I was really proud of it. And I like showed it to my coworkers, and they like quickly looked away. They were like, "Oh no!" But I finished the picture, which is more than I do with a lot of half-assed art projects that I start. So just doing something I think does help like get your cogs turning.
Yeah. I got or adult coloring books.
Mm-hmm.
That's really relaxing.
Color pencils.
Yes, absolutely.
Very
I think,
nice.
just letting yourself kind of play. I think that's something that we miss as adults is we don't get that playtime.
Yeah.
We're just always expected to be like everything's scheduled, everything's serious all the time. And like we just finish our work and then flip on the TV and we're not the ones that are doing the playing. We're just watching other people have fun,
Yeah, especially now when we're not living our social lives like we used to or doing comedy shows like you used to, like having more playtime mixed in with the work. Now it's it's been very much like work, go to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice. I like the advice. Do you want to spin the roulette wheel and get a random question?
I'm so excited. Spin the wheel, baby.
All right, let's get it in front of the camera. It's just
oh my god, this is so cute. Wait, show
generic
me.
topics.
Okay.
I'll give you
I
a
love
whirl.
it.
Where'd we get?
What does it say?
A fact few people or no one knows about you. What's something a lot of people don't know about you, Katy?
I used to do trapeze when I was a kid.
When you were a kid?
Yeah. I went to circus camp and I walked on stilts.
That's
I
cool.
did the tightrope. I did the lyra, which is like a Cirque du Soleil thing where you like spin around upside down from your ankle, and I did trapeze. So I almost ran away to join the circus.
That sounds really fun for a kid. Were you good at it or did you like not care?
Yeah.
Did it matter?
I loved it. It was great because the camp was actually like a performing arts camp in upstate New York. Shout out to French Woods Festival. So it's up near like where the original Woodstock was. So it's like
Okay.
out in the boonies. But yeah, it's a theater camp and they have like all different kinds of theater. You can do musicals and stuff like
I've
that. That's like
been
the
up there.
main
That
draw.
is the boonies. It's like foresty, grassy type area.
Yeah, it's gorgeous though. But yeah, it was a theater camp, and then they also had a circus there, and so yeah, I had a lot of fun with it because I'm not a great singer. So with the musicals, I would always get like small roles because I wasn't a great singer. But in the circus, I could be the star because I was just like flexible and athletic, and I loved it. And I guess I'm weirdly not afraid of heights at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like born into me or because I did all these weird circus acts as a kid.
It could be causation and whatever the other one is, correlation.
Yeah, I don't know, but like it didn't freak me out at all, and I've always had a really good sense of balance. Like I remember I learned with stilt walking, it took a lot of the kids a really long time to figure it out, but I figured it out within like a day or two. So then like every time that I would have to go there to practice, I would just like me and one of the random counselors, they were all Australian for some reason. I don't know why.
Probably had like a study exchange program.
Probably. And I would just like walk around the camp on my stilts and he would like walk with me and I would just like sit on top of one of the bunks, just like hang out. But I found it really exhilarating. Especially like,
Was it a sleepaway camp?
yeah, it was a sleepaway camp. But there's something about doing circus acts when you're holding your entire body weight up high. It's like you really have to trust yourself, you know, that you're not going to fall and that you're holding yourself, you know. It's a
And
lot
it
of like
seems very
dealing with
like
fear.
very in the moment, like not life or death, but it seems very like you really got to be there and holding on.
Yeah, and especially if you're working with other people. Like I had one that I did was a triple trapeze where it was like me and two other girls on three trapezes connected to each other. And so I was the girl in the middle that would get like they would like flip me around, you know, and you really have to trust people.
Yeah.
You really have to focus, you know, like where different people's hands and feet are going.
That's so cool. I wish I did something like that as a kid.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. And I think as many hobbies as we can give kids just to kind of like play and figure out what life is about, it's good.
Go explore your creativity and do something athletic while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's cool. Let's spin one more.
One more.
I'll give it a big spin for you.
I'm excited. Big money, big money, big money.
This is Vegas now.
Yeah. Okay, what does it say again?
No, it's the same one.
Okay, forget it. One more time. Big money, big money, big money. Yeah.
That question is just popular. People, like, the podcast wants to know secrets. Okay, this one is relevant. If you became president tomorrow, what would you do? What's the first thing you would do?
Oh my goodness. This is a really heavy question.
It's heavy if you want it to be.
No, well, not heavy. It's just so wide ranging. It's like,
Yes.
What do I want to deal with first? Like racial inequality, women's rights, the environment, like everything.
The Electoral College, like what
The
to
Electoral
do?
College, like there's
Should we get rid of Florida? I don't know.
No, I mean there's some good parts. I love Miami.
Fair enough.
What is the first thing I would do? Wow. I've never thought about that, and I really should have an answer to this question. Okay.
Or it's even like you're being given all this power.
The first thing I would do is I would pack the courts because right now we have a very unequal Supreme
Get
Court.
back, fight them with fire.
I would pack the courts with like I think 3 more seats. And also I would give term limits to all those judges because I think that there's a trickle down effect where the Supreme Court
Get a term limit on Amy Coney Barrett ASAP.
Not just her, but everybody. I think that like once you hit like 75, you should be automatically retired. That's it.
Or even after you've served however many years. Like, do you really have to be there more than 20 years?
I don't know, but I'm saying at the current state of affairs, it's a lifetime situation. So even putting a cap on it at a 75-year-old seems like, I don't know, at least there's something, right? So putting some sort of limit on it, and also I would, because I think RBG, like, she was such a hero of mine, and it made me so heartbroken when She passed away, and her dying wish was that she would not be replaced until a new president was elected. And he went completely against that. So that, and then I would do whatever I could to solve COVID-19. I think that's the other thing that's the biggest problem in our country.
Yeah, let's make the judicial system a little bit more fair between the two parties, and let's end the virus that's been killing us since March.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, like, I think that the other thing that would be really great is just doing something to end the homelessness crisis. And I don't know what that would be, but especially in Los Angeles, we seem to have really big problem with not having enough affordable housing, not having enough resources for these people, whether that's mental health or, drug rehabs or whatever it is that they need. Resources to be able to get job training and jobs. Those are definitely things that could be solved. And I mean, the other thing, which is not really a policy related, just more like kumbaya, is like figuring out how to bring everybody together to be like, okay, we're all in one country. Let's not kill each other. Like the guns. Let's get it out of here.
I know, more strict gun regulations. Maybe like some checks and balances in the news and journalism. Like can we get rid of fake news and have like a news source where we like know real information's being shot out? Because I feel like that would really help the divide in the country.
It would be nice. I don't know. But the problem is that Trump has taught people to not trust the news. And once people stopped trusting the news, then it just became, it became a really big problem. So I think that on a bigger scale of things, I'm really hoping that Joe Biden will be able to bring the country together, because I think that's something that a lot of presidents have been good at doing, regardless of which party they represent. Once they become president, they say, you know what, we're all Americans. I'm here to serve all of you. And because Trump has completely put that on its head by saying he's only serving the people who voted for him. And that's not how this works.
But he's
like,
not,
all of us have to live here.
He's only serving Donald Trump the whole time.
Sure. But I'm saying he's claiming to represent a certain faction of people and to help this certain faction of people, right? And weaponizing them against us.
That's his platform. And then Biden's already come out being like, I'm going to be here for all of you, whether or not you voted for me. So he's already trying to unite the country from where he is.
Because that's what we need. It's really terrible that, like, we have to be in a situation where people's families are being torn apart by all of these politics. And we should be able to disagree with each other without completely wanting to kill each other,
Yeah, because it just hits you in the heart when someone's like, no, I actually believe in the opposite of that, and that's my like political stance. It cuts you deep, and when you don't know how to debate it or argue against fake news, you're you're left feeling gaslit the whole time. You're like, am I crazy? Did I make this up? And why am I so passionate about this when these the MAGA hat people are like behind this guy who thinks that coronavirus is not a big deal and climate change isn't real? You just feel crazy when it's so divided.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think those are great ideas though, and shout out to RBG. I'm glad her granddaughter is a lawyer, so I think she left behind a great legacy.
She did. No, I mean, she is an icon and will always go down in history as, one of the most important women that has affected the feminist movement and the moving forward of just women in this country in general. Like, when she, like, a lot of the things that she's done, she made it so that women can get a loan, women can have their own bank account, you can buy a car, you can make your own decisions about your life. Those are things that were not always afforded to us. We also didn't always have the right to vote. That wasn't something she did. But I'm just saying, I think a lot of people take these things for granted. They don't realize how hard people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg had to fight for all these things, for women to be treated equally. And
how strategic she had to be. She had to like pick her cases so carefully to get any progress accomplished. She had to go after paternity leave before she could get, women equality, because, the men get all the attention. And she did it brilliantly, and she never took a break. So I admire her.
Yeah. Yeah, and her workout routine.
I know. That was kind of my inspiration, throughout the most recent years, but especially during COVID. I'm like, RBG is still going to her trainer. I gotta keep working out because she's putting me to shame.
Yeah, because it's not even really just about aesthetics. It's about
Health.
Health and mental health, you know?
Yeah. And just being able to show up for your job and fighting the good fight and being the best, healthiest version of yourself. She really led an example in everything.
Yeah.
To the end, is there anything you'd like to promote or share with the audience before we go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I would just love for people to come join me on Crying Behind Sunglasses. You can check it out at Crying Behind Pod on Instagram, or check me out at Katy Dolle, Katydolle. I put out new episodes every week, and I interview comedians about their mental health issues. We find a way to laugh about it. And I also have a private Facebook support group of the same name, Crying Behind Sunglasses, that we've been running throughout the pandemic. That's been really great just to have that community showing up for people and supporting each other. So yeah, if anybody wants to hop on over there, I'll be doing that for a while. I'm really, it's interesting because I've had that idea to do that podcast forever, and I just so happened to decide to do it this year. And then when COVID hit, I feel like the entire world is in a mental health crisis. So now is the time for us to be talking about this stuff, you know?
Yeah. There's never been a more perfect time. So I think it's so awesome you're offering that space and that support to people. I'll link it all in the episode details and the description. But check out Crying Behind Sunglasses and Katy Dolle on the internet.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for talking with me. It's been a pleasure.
Therapy roulette, consent to vent, trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy roulette, consent to vent. If you don't have problems, then you're probably repressing shit, and you should find a therapist who's not